Welcome to episode 596 of the Aussie Tech Heads, recorded on the 9th of August 2018. Aussie Tech Heads is brought to you by ATH Web Hosting at athwebhosting.com.au. Servers operate on SSL drives, immediate activation, SSL certificates, Aussie support, domain registration, easy install of WordPress, Joomla and Drupal. I'm your host, Jason Oakley, and we have back again Australia's two top podcasters. I'm joined this week by Mr. Will Tompkinson. Hey, Will.
Ignore him. He's only partially drunk.
Where's my microphone?
Hang on, I'll arrange that for you. So
never going to give you up, never going to let you down.
Now people have to watch the show. What the bloody hell?
What are they talking about?
Get onto YouTube, watch it now. Go on.
Yep.
Stop listening to the audio right now. Get on YouTube and watch it.
They don't know who we are because we don't do this show anymore.
They've never seen
We're
this.
those two wackos.
I'm glad you mentioned what show it was, because I'm sitting there going, what show are we doing tonight?
Where's Joe and Jordan? Where's Joe and Jordan? They're the stars now. You two losers, get off.
You're old news, burnt out hacks.
Doesn't it make you feel old? We've been doing podcasting for 10 years or more?
Yeah, well, I've been on this show since episode 200.
Yep.
I've been listening since episode 1. So
yep.
Yep, been a while.
You thought they needed some talent, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're clearly open to anything at all.
Well, if they put us on, they sure are.
I know, right? There's no prerequisites. It's just like, do you own a microphone and a webcam? Yep. Yes. Okay, can you make a fool of yourself for an hour? Yes. I'll see you next week.
No wonder we're the top two.
We meet all the requirements. Yeah, not too bad. Good. Bloody cold. Oh, man. It's been colder this week than it has been when we're actually in winter. We've had, because I'm out west of Ipswich, so we get desert weather, so we're getting, it's really...
don't fall, got a job with a company drilling for oil.
Pretty much. We've had, speaking of rain, we've had 3 mil in 6 or 8 weeks. But we've been getting -1, -2 mornings and 30-degree days.
That's
so
nuts.
It's really screwing with me at the moment.
I think we get up to about 26 or something in about 4 overnight.
Yeah. It's been hard actually, because the transition is ridiculous, because it's a -1 or -2, but it's actually feels like -4, -5 some mornings.
Yeah.
And then you get a frost on top of that, and then you get fog with the frost, and then you get the wind and
Frosty,
stuff like
the snowman. How's the little fella hanging on?
Yep.
Still there.
Hang on. No, he's doing well. He's
it looks like your halo is a bit tilted there, falling off, sir.
Yeah, no, he's fine. He's 3 in 8 weeks.
Nice.
So yeah, he's loving it, lapping it up, and still.
I think I saw he got a new cubby house.
He did. Well, a pre-loved cubby house.
Yeah.
But we had neighbours who were moving out, and they didn't have room in their new the new house that they just bought for a ridiculous amount of money and can't afford to pay off. They don't have room in the backyard for a cubby house. But yeah, so I got it and cleaned it all up for him and made it look pretty, and then realised, how do I move a 150 kilo cubby house by myself?
On the back.
So I drilled a couple of holes through the back of it and mounted a couple of wheels on it and
pushed it home.
Pushed it around like a wheelbarrow. So.
Nice.
So yeah, he loves that.
Nothing if not inventive, are you?
No, well, you do what you got to do.
You should have video YouTube that one.
Yeah, I'd never leave that one down. It's bad enough I put a hole through the fence.
That'd be the only reason people watch this show anyway. It'd be your antics on YouTube.
Yeah, we decided to cut down some trees, and that worked flawlessly right up until the point where somebody decided to record the last tree, and then it all went pear-shaped and fell through the fence. Up until that, we didn't have a problem.
First it was flawlessly, and now it's fencelessly.
It's performance anxiety.
Don't do it now. There's somebody taller than me. I can't go.
But no, it was, yeah, it's been awesome. It's been a good couple of months I've spent on the show. So
Yep.
I was confused as to what show we're doing because we're doing Aussie Tech Crypto predominantly now. And I'm like, oh, yeah, it's late at night. Must be that. Oh, wait, no, hang on. It's not.
I think I do have a story that's got a bit of crypto, but I suppose we should jump in and start on these things.
Well,
People
I guess we should
come here just to listen to us waffle onto each other, did they? Why did they come here?
What was going to say? What else did they come here for? We should mention too. Yeah, obviously Aussie Tech Crypto. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. But there's also we're heavily invested in Australia Coin.
Yep.
Which is it's actually doing quite well at the moment. It's actually got people mining it.
Only one. Everything's in the red.
That's it. Australia Coin's pretty cool.
Striker, who we never mentioned, not on this show or any other show, messaged me today. You know that $6,000 I invented in crypto? It's worth $674.
Well, you know that nothing I've invested in Australia Coin. It's worth $75 now.
Nice.
So let's see who got the better deal out of that one. So yeah, it's all fun and games.
We have to say, poor Glennie couldn't make it. He had other plans tonight. Probably going to the ballet or starring in the ballet, doing a bit of dancing.
Bingo or something. It's a bingo or is it? Oh, he had to go and dye his hair purple. I think that's what it was.
Deep purple. We look forward to seeing it on the next show, Glenn.
the blue rinse. Be a problem with green screen. We'll have to chroma key it.
Yeah.
That's why I loved an episode that had OMG Chad on. I can't remember what show. It was on one of the shows. And it's a live stream. And while they were doing it, one of the technicians got in and started chroma keying his hair. So throughout the show, his hair kept changing colours. Because if anyone doesn't know, OMG Chad has this really fluoro pink hairdo. Like, insane. And yeah, so the tech throughout the show, like every minute or so, changed the colour of his hair to a different colour. That was funny. Anyway, what are we doing?
It's a big day for Google and Android today with the announcement of Android 9 being released, as well as naming the version Android Pie.
Num num num.
As well as naming the latest...
It's slightly better than American Pie.
Yeah. As well as naming the latest version of Android after a tasty treat, Google has also unveiled the latest Android launch statue at Google Plex. The unveiling was fittingly planned for 3:14 p.m, Pi, approximately 3.14, in front of Google Plex, where the statue denoting the current version of Android is placed before being moved in front of Building 44, where the Android team is based, or down in front of the Google merchandise store on Landings Drive. So that's been rolled out to people with the Pixel 2 Google phone. I'm on Samsung S9 with Telstra, so I should get it by the end of next year.
I was about to say the same thing. I'm with Vodafone. So, although I did actually get an update that's the day of the launch. I don't know if what update it was, but I got an update.
I have the June update, last applied on July 5th, and I've been checking every day, and there's nothing new there. So it's going to go through the Telstra checks, which 6 to 12 months before you get anything.
Mine came through last night. What's software info? What am I currently running? Android version 7, 3.10.161.
Yep.
Okay, not quite as I was hoping it was something better than that, but no.
Are you keen on the new Note with the stylus? Bright yellow stylus?
Just all the Notes have got a stylus. Yeah, look, anything that stops you from losing it is not a bad thing.
Yep.
The best thing they did, I think it was on the Note 3, it might have been the Note 2, it wasn't on the original one. The best thing they did was introduce a warning. So if you don't have the stylus in and your phone starts moving as if you start walking or something like that, it actually vibrates at you and lets you know your stylus is missing.
Nice.
Which is great because occasionally if you drop your phone hard enough, it actually pops, like, that's clipped in.
Yep.
And if you smack it hard enough, it'll actually pop out.
Yep.
So the fact that it has that vibration warning to let you know that it's missing. I've never lost a stylus since they introduced that. On my original Note, I think I went through about probably 2 styluses a month.
Yep.
Now, since they introduced that feature, I've never lost a stylus.
I don't think I've had a stylus since the PalmOS and Pocket PC days.
The Pocket PC, wow.
Yeah. One of them.
That's pre-Palm Pilot. That is.
Yep.
You had Palm Pilot. You had the HP, whatever they were running.
I loved my handspring visor prism, and
yeah.
And I bought a phone module that you clip on the back of it, put a SIM in it, and it turns into your mobile phone. It was really awesome. That was probably one of the first phones that could do multiple SMS. You just type in your message once and then go, who you want to send it to, tick, 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 go. And so I was like, guess what? I'm going to be a dad. Tick, 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 send. That's how long it was 15 years ago.
It was, and you could do. It had flash memory from memory, like flash memory cards you put in the back to increase your memory size. Yeah. Which one did you have? I had the see-through green. Mine was like a see-through skeleton case green.
Oh, okay. I think mine was bluey, maybe cobalt blue or something weird.
Oh, you had the cobalt blue one. Yeah. Mine was sort of a. Yeah,
I loved that phone though. It was awesome. I made a game on it. You could do a search online for Quirl, Quirl, and I called myself Zigzag Software for that one. And it was like it was a gem matching game, and I didn't sell that many of it, but I wrote music using a mod tracker. This is welcome to Old Fart Geeks. So I used a mod tracker and wrote music, and it would play that. And I did a Christmas version with Christmas graphics that you could get free if you've already paid for the other one. And it had Christmas music that played in the background. Oh, it was fun.
So they were MIDI, weren't they?
MP3.
Oh, were they?
Yeah,
oh, okay.
MP3.
That must have been.
No. It would have been MIDI. Yeah.
Must have been MIDI or piece, maybe.
Well, it was a mod tracker file that they had back in the old PC days.
I was going to say it wouldn't have been MP3 because the first MP3 was that Nokia Explorer.
Yeah, I think it was wave samples that were sequenced and stuff. They could raise the pitch and lower it. Yeah. Since we're talking about it, nice segue. Palm's smartphone return appears to be still on track for 2018. From a report, last year an executive at TCL confirmed that the dearly departed mobile brand would be making a comeback as part of a smartphone conglomerate's portfolio, and with a little under 5 months left in the year, the PVG100 has hit the FCC and Wi-Fi Alliance. The handset was spotted by Android police, but we don't have much more to go on than the name and a couple of Wi-Fi bands. As the site notes, however, the absence of 5 GHz support leads one to surmise this won't exactly be a barn-burning flagship. The handset also looks to be running Android 8.1, not really a surprise given that Android Pie is still limited Pixel and a smattering of other devices.
I mean, it's not the end of the world. 5G hasn't rolled out to
hardly anywhere.
Almost anywhere yet, so that's not really a big deal. That's kind of, putting the cart before the horse a bit there.
Yep.
It looks like a sexy looking phone. Have you seen the photos of the thing?
Share one.
I'm just trying to get the load. Not great. It loads their logo, but it won't load the photo. A typical Palm question. I'll have to load this dodgy one here. It looks awesome. It's like a curved screen, full face screen. It's sort of got this. Looks like the whole thing's slightly curved.
Yep.
Really pristine. And obviously the viewing angle's pretty immense too by looking at that photo.
Yeah, it looks about 40 degrees. Oh, sorry, you're not talking about that angle.
And the whoops. I like the styling of it. It's fully rounded too. It's not it's almost like a elongated oval sort of deal. So it'd be really interesting to see.
Elongated, is he any relation to Elon Musk?
Maybe.
If you cross Bill Gates and Elon Musk, elongated.
It'll be interesting to see. I mean, it's going to be one of the first. I don't think Palm's ever done a phone without a keyboard, or a device without a keyboard for that matter. So it's going to be. I mean, I know they had the Palm Pod, but I'm pretty sure from memory it's still flipped out with a keyboard, or was it just?
I know Blackberries did. They were all virtual keyboards on the Palm because it had the handwriting recognition. Right. You had to learn how to do A by starting up there, going up across, and then back.
That's right. You had
special. You had to learn their graffiti.
Yeah, it wasn't handwriting recognition. It was how can you learn to write again?
Yeah,
that's what it was called.
Like, how do I do a Q again? Go and then don't take your pen. Yeah, no, that was O. Try again.
I think
P.
it was loosely based on shorthand, I think, but very loosely.
Yeah.
But it's a nice looking phone. It'd be interesting to see that there's really, as you said, there's really nothing in the way of specs or anything like that.
Got nothing to do with the Palm company anymore or any of that.
No. Well, it's Palm Ventures Group is the company now.
Yeah, but it's run by TCL.
Yeah.
Who made my TV?
Yeah, I mean TCL, make all the good guys stuff. I mean, like they're a fairly big spread. Actually, mine's a TCL too now. I think about it. They don't do bad products. They do really well priced stuff. It's not the best, but it's probably the best at that price.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how it pans out. But I don't know. Is there any love for Palm anymore? It's like saying
I think a lot of people. There's not BlackBerry. They brought out another one, and it runs Android, and it's got the physical keyboard, and people are like, why?
Yeah.
But Palm, people still have a love for Palm, even if it's not by Palm. It doesn't have the PalmOS, but it looks cute.
Oh, it looks amazing.
Get it for your kids.
Yeah, but being Palm, it's going to be $1,000 phone probably.
Well, TCL, you just said had good pricing for their stuff, so
I guess it depends on how heavily they want to play the Palm card, I suppose.
Yeah.
Do they want to palm their cards?
It sounds like a magician's trick.
Speaking of Tesla, speaking of Elon Musk, who you might as well speak of Tesla. Segway. Have you ever tried to ride?
No. They got him in Newcastle, I think.
There's a guy, he must have not long bought it. I was at somewhere in Ipswich on the weekend, and this guy looks like it's the first time he's ever tried to ride one. And he's hopped on it, and he's doing the whole balancing thing, and it's rocking backwards and forwards, and he's kind of got the hang of it, and then he sneezes. And this thing just launches across the area that he's in, and just hits the planet box, and he goes into the planet box, and he tumbles over, and it bounces back off it and goes back the other way. I was driving
that's past. What you need to YouTube.
I only got to see like 10 seconds of it because I was driving past, but it was the funniest thing I've seen in a long time. It's hilarious. Oh dear. Anyway, speaking of hilarious, speaking of Elon Musk, 6 of Tesla's board members on Wednesday confirmed they've met several times over the past week with CEO Elon Musk to discuss taking the company private. Excuse me.
Grab it by the private. Yes,
the confirmation came a day after. That's a whole different sort of boot camp. The confirmation came a day after Musk first mentioned the idea publicly on Twitter, sending the stock market into a tizzy. Ooh, a tizzy! Wow. Okay, how old was the guy who wrote this article? The statement from the board members, Brad Buss, Robin Denholm, Ira.
You always pick the ones with the weird. Every show we do, there's people who are not pronounceable.
Antonio Gracias. And Linda Johnson Rice and James Murdoch. Of course, there's a Murdoch on the board. Why wouldn't there? Last week, Elon opened a discussion with the board about taking this company private. This included discussion as to how being private could be better serve Tesla's long-term interests, and also address the funding to this to occur. The board has met several times over the last week and is taking the appropriate next steps to evaluate this. 2 board members didn't sign the letter: Musk's brother Kimball Musk and venture capitalist Steve Jurvetson. Well, he's not going to because he's a venture capitalist. It's against his interest. Yeah. The Tesla CEO's Tuesday tweet came seemingly out of nowhere. I'm considering making Tesla private at $420, funding secured.
$420? That's not much.
I'm guessing he means there's probably a couple of zeros after that.
Yeah, you know why 420, right?
Yeah, I know, right?
Oh, I got a great idea. Why don't we take it private?
You're dealing with somebody who, in their business dealings, has multiple zeros at the end of their letters when they don't bother to use them anymore. They just use the first 3 digits instead of all 9.
They're in the 3 comma club.
That's it. It is, however, he made some eye-popping statements taking Tesla's private at it is $420 a share. They would value the electric car company at around $70 billion, much higher than its current market cap. I should look up what the current shares are.
Quick
That price will also make the deal the biggest leverage buyout ever. Meanwhile, Musk's statement the funding was secured raised questions about who would provide funding. I think that's the bulk of it. But basically the funding is currently not secured. They need that to be secured, then they can basically go ahead with it. It'll be interesting. Interesting to see. I think ultimately is right. I believe like everybody gives him grief that, especially if you watch like a guy on YouTube called Rich Rebuilds, and he buys flooded, damaged, written off Teslas, and either salvages parts off them or rebuilds them to sell to other people.
Yep.
And his biggest complaint is you can't buy parts from Tesla. They won't sell you parts, and they won't provide support for the vehicle for error codes and stuff like that. Yet Elon's philosophy has always been that he wants to make it an open platform. But the biggest problem is because it's not a private company, there's too many hands involved, and there's no way that whatever there's penny pinchers at the top, they're going to allow such a powerful platform to be open. So I'm fairly certain that this also applies to his Powerwalls that he's making. It's a very similar software on both the Powerwall and the Tesla. I'm fairly certain this is probably his main reason for doing this, because he ultimately wants... His vision of the future is a vehicle that ultimately self-repairs, which it doesn't mean that the vehicle repairs itself. It means that the vehicle can diagnose what's wrong with itself, and any repairer can repair it. Yep. And for that to happen, it basically has to be an open source platform, which is what he wants it to be. He's just not allowed... The way the company is currently structured, it's not allowed for that to happen.
Are you saying also we could have open source Powerwalls?
More or less. There's no reason why we couldn't. At the end of the day, it's all running Linux.
Yep.
There's not that much.
Everything runs Linux these days, son.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the thing. Like the Powerwall at the moment, there are some things you can tweak and some things you can hack and make it do things, but at the end of the day, it's still locked down within the parameters that they set forth.
Yep.
Now, and that's to do with warranties and stuff like that. Or once they make it open source, if you then choose to step outside those parameters and make it do something it's not designed to do, well, okay, it'll do it. Obviously, you're going to avoid your warranty, but if warranty is not an issue, go ahead.
Doesn't matter, yeah.
So obviously there'll be some sections that will never be opened up, like obviously the communications sector of it, where it talks back to base and it has the whole integration with Tesla Factory, and you can't open that up because then you're asking for hackers and stuff like that. Yeah. I get that. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But yeah, it's this other side of it that I reckon is why it's going private, because he's always wanted it to be he's always wanted to be that sort of platform that allows him to basically allow anybody to work on the car. And
you can expand the features, and people could check back in some Git source code.
Well, not even that. What it means is I can go and buy his battery pack, and I can go to the wreckers. I can buy a battery pack out of one car. I can buy an inverter out of another car. I can buy a motor out of another car. I can take it home. I can throw it into my car. I can download the code off the net, make it run. You know what I mean? And so I think that's ultimately where it wants to go, because I mean he wants to be everywhere, and if his software is open source and his hardware is open source, well, other car manufacturers don't have to do any of the hard work. It's done for them. There's absolutely no reason why suddenly 15 leading car manufacturers aren't running Tesla hardware with a different body. So at the end of the day, they'll make more money from it by outsourcing their components to other people.
And can you imagine the compatibility of having all of the EVs running off the same operating system?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean,
plus it's easier for them if one person does all of the development for it, everyone else just licenses it, then you don't need a development team. You don't need to try and catch up to Tesla, who's been doing it for a long time. You just live off their current work. They've already done it.
Exactly. And what it means is if you buy, say you have a Tesla or you have a version thereof, and you write it off or you get in an accident, you can leave it parked in the backyard, and your other two cars that you've got, you now have parts for those cars, because at the end of the day, other than body panels and quirks that are going to be given to them by the car manufacturer, but all your major mechanical components are going to be fully interchangeable.
Yep.
So it's a really good idea.
Sounds like a great future.
Interesting to see if it actually works that way. And I'm not saying Tesla's answer is the answer to all the problems, but with the 10-year sort of advancement they've got on everybody else, they're not the best option. No, there is no the best option, but they're certainly going to be up there. At the moment, they're the best. Other manufacturers will capture them and exceed them, but if the platforms they're based on are all open source platforms, that benefits everybody, including that particular car manufacturer, because if they seem to be doing the right thing, I think it'll get to the point where people go, well, these guys are supporting the industry by allowing other people to use their thing, so let's support them by buying their cars.
It's going to be the Android of cars.
Well, yeah, more or less. Yeah, I mean, look, Google, yes, okay, they released the core code, but other than the iPhone, there's basically not a phone on the market that doesn't run Android now.
Yeah, and Samsung's got the Samsung experience. They have their own stuff on. HTC's got their own version with their skins and their launchers and stuff that are different. Everybody's got something different. And
everybody prefers, even within that infrastructure, everybody prefers their particular version. I prefer Samsung's take over HTC's take. I used to like HTC's take. They'd changed some stuff. I don't like it anymore. I prefer Samsung's. Next phone I get, I might go and get the Pixel phone because I don't like the way Samsung's doing something, So even though it's at the core, it's the same thing. Every user experience is just that different enough to make them all individual products.
Even my S9 compared to your Note is different enough.
Exactly. Well, one of my mates has got the Edge S6, I think, the first Edge. And that's where I realized it's completely useless for me because I have a big hand. And when I hold the phone, it touches both sides. And my fingers actually wrap a fair way around the phone.
Yeah, I couldn't stand it.
Well, I can't use an Edge because I'm touching the screen with 4 fingers already. Yeah. So when I try to do something, it doesn't recognize it because I'm already holding the screen.
Yeah, my daughter's mum got the Edge. She likes it, but she's only got little hands. So.
Yeah, that's right. For someone
I got to be able to reach to the other side. I can't wrap my fingers around. I just can't get it.
Well, I mean, I can almost do that with this one. Like it's for me, this is a perfect size phone, but for other people, it's too big. Or for what I mean,
it's too big for me.
Ironically, this was the phablet 5 years ago.
Yeah. Now it's one of the little ones.
Yeah, it is. There's look at what some of the Chinese manufacturers are doing. They're like
6.5
7-inch screens now. So
I recently discovered a flaw in WhatsApp could help hackers to modify and send fake messages. Researchers at the Israeli cybersecurity firm Checkpoint said the vulnerability gives a hacker the possibility to intercept and manipulate messages sent by those in a group or private conversation, as well as to create and spread misinformation. WhatsApp acknowledged that it's possible for someone to manipulate the quote feature, but the company disagreed that it was a flaw. WhatsApp said the system was working as it had intended because the trade-offs to prevent such a deception by verifying every message on the platform would create enormous privacy risk or bog down the service. The company said it worked to find and remove anyone using fake WhatsApp application to spoof the service. We carefully reviewed this issue and it's the equivalent of altering an email, the spokesperson said in a statement. What Checkpoint discovered had nothing to do with the security of WhatsApp's so-called end-to-end encryption, which ensures only the sender and recipient can receive messages, he said.
Fair enough. I use WhatsApp a lot.
There's only one person who messages me every day in WhatsApp, and I've got a couple of friends I used to work with in Sydney who we have a flurry of messages happen once a month and then nothing again for another month. And that's it for me. Not many people using it.
I noticed the other day too, WhatsApp has now gone with video call. That's a new thing they just introduced. Because I accidentally bumped it the other day and called my sister. I thought it was through Facebook and I realized it's WhatsApp. I'm like, okay. But we use WhatsApp a fair bit, mainly because where she is, they don't have phone signal, they've only got Wi-Fi. So, and she's got an old Series 1 iPhone still.
Still going.
Yeah, it's still going. It's still on the original battery too. And it only runs WhatsApp. It doesn't run Facebook Messenger or anything like that.
Yep.
So I've got one family member who insists on using WeChat.
What? Who even uses that? Isn't that China uses that?
It is. That's why though, because they travel to China. They do travel to China, so they use WeChat because they're over there quite often. It's just easier.
Yep.
And, well, as you know, other ones don't even exist over there. So
one more app for you.
And communications apps, I think I've got about 6 different apps on here now. Because obviously you've got normal phone call and normal messaging.
Yep.
And then you've got Facebook and Facebook Messenger.
WhatsApp.
Then you've got WhatsApp and
WeChat.
You've got WeChat, and then there's
Viber.
The Story Park, which is another one. What's the other one? There's another one here I used. I can't even find it now. There's just
too many.
What's funny is somebody will message me on something, and then I'll read the message, and I'm not thinking about it. And a couple of hours, I've got to get back to that person. I'm like,
where was it? No. My daughter mostly only messages me through Instagram direct messenger. So if I hear that sound effect, I'm pretty sure it's her. If I hear this WhatsApp sound effect, I know who it is.
Yeah, and that's it. And then there's Twitter, of course.
Yep.
And then there's the other one, is it Foursquare?
Who uses Foursquare?
I think it's Foursquare. Another one of my incredibly talented family members.
Yay!
It's like they found an app and went, "Hey, cool! I've got this app that does this thing." I'm like, yeah, it did like 5 years. There's other. No, you've got to check it out. I'm like,
we went through that phase already. Thanks for playing.
Was it Foursquare that you checked in everywhere you went? Yeah. Yeah, he must, because every time he goes somewhere, I still get the check-in. I'm like, stop, please.
Stop. Nobody does Facebook check-ins, yes, but nothing else. Thanks.
So speaking of mobile data, and it seems to be a very mobile-oriented show.
Yeah.
I've got like 4 stories that kind of all tie together. But we often bitch in this country about pricing of particularly data packs. For mobile data packs. Well, I've done a bit of digging, and we shouldn't really be complaining. A friend from Canada sent me this. So they pay about $115 a month for just local calls. That's not Canada-wide. That's just in their postcode.
Jeez. For
10 gig of data, and that doesn't include. It includes SMSs, but it includes text messages, but MMSs are not included. Extra. And for 80 gig a month, they pay $405 a month with just local calls, or $410 with unlimited Canada-wide calls. So for the same plan, for this 10 gig, I think they've used the Vodafone pricing here. I'm not 100% sure.
It says Optus on each of those images.
Yes, sorry.
I can read it.
You can see it. I'm looking up at your screen. You can actually read that better than I can. It doesn't show it that well for me. It must be the chroma keying actually making that easier to read.
I like the nice blue.
Well, that's green.
No, it's blue. I can see.
You're seeing the Aussie Tech Head logo behind that. But yeah, so obviously, we're paying $34 a month for 10 gig. They're paying $115.
Wow.
So we're not behind in absolutely everything.
And $78 for 90 gig compared to $115 for 80.
No, we're paying $78 for 90. They're paying $405 for 80.
405. There you go.
Yeah.
Stop complaining, you bloody kids.
So our mobile data ain't that bad, but that's about the only thing it's not. But
what about speeds?
Yeah, well, the NBN is in the news again this week for several different reasons. One of which is that they have finally caught up with, the rest of the world 10 years ago. They've just launched DOCSIS 3.1 across the HFC network.
No way.
So there's 2 things here. One is they've released DOCSIS 3.1. Secondly, I could have sworn a few months ago they said they were killing off HFC.
Yeah. They did.
Sure, they said
They
that.
said they couldn't. It wasn't working. They had to cancel it. Nobody with an HFC was going to get NBN.
So that means that the DOCSIS 3.1 they've just released only on HFC isn't going to be a thing. Or they've started taking the freeze off the HFC and they're launching HFC.
Yeah.
So the funny thing, what they're saying here is, although using technology from a HFC technology partner to ARIS, NBN Co is planning to deploy DOCSIS 3.1 technology across the vast majority of the NBN HFC broadband access network by 2020 in both downstream and upstream. The 3.1 is brought onto the network in an area-by-area basis. Most end users should have immediate access to the technology as their existing NBN Co network termination device, or NTD, inside their home is already fitted with a DOCSIS 3.1 capable technology. No, mine can barely do Wi-Fi. Connections also be made more reliable thanks to ornithological frequency division multiplexing modulation technology.
Try saying that 3 times fast.
I can't say it once.
I know, right?
And I'm sure nobody who works on the NBN knows what that even means.
No.
Although DOCSIS 3.1 does enable higher speeds on the HFC network, that is not our core focus at the present time. So you're rolling out a package that's primarily responsible for increasing speed.
Yep. But
you're not interested in increasing speed.
No. Glad we got that sorted out.
Thank you, NBN, for clarifying that. So they're also ARIS, who's the HFC network provider, is trialing full duplex DOCSIS, which could enable 10 gigabit symmetrical speeds. So in other words, in 15, 20 years' time, we may see that.
Hooray! Glenn will be happy.
Apparently, DOCSIS 3.1 NTD is already in the homes of those who have NBN HFC connections. All the NBN has to do is update the line cards in the cable modem termination systems and upgrade the software. So basically, if you already got a HFC or will have a HFC, theoretically you should get the 3.1 as standard. For us who still have effectively ADSL, good luck with that.
Wow.
So it's kind of a double-edged sword. They kind of drop two different things at the same time. Although NBN has confirmed that its goal is to ramp up releasing 100,000 new premises a month on the HFC network by the end of September. It should mean that the NBN connections are back on schedule, and the Aussie broadband customers with a held HFC order should be seeing some action soon.
Yay! I think Glenn said he's still slated for January, February.
Yeah. They haven't said what year, though.
Don't tell him that. That's the secret.
And on a similar related note, movie and TV piracy drops across Australia.
What? You're
for
crazy.
For the 4th year in a row.
We're the kings.
According to a survey by the federal government.
Yeah, don't worry about it. We sorted it all out. Obviously, we did a survey, and it said we were right.
Because it is probably, in quotation marks, and that's that's actually written, due to a greater availability of legal content.
Where?
Or perhaps the fact that the internet's that bad you can't download for shit.
Yeah. It's really easy. You just sign up for Netflix, you sign up for Stan, you sign up for Foxtel Presto and all the others, and then you can watch anything you want and just pay like $50 a month.
Well, unless you don't have the bandwidth to watch any of those.
In which case?
In which case you pay $50 a month and you still have the bandwidth to watch any of those.
Yeah.
But what's funny, though, the way that they've done this, they're very careful with the way they've sort of made this chart up now, and it's broken up into, and I don't really understand how they've done this, but they've broken it up into 100% lawfully consumed, mix of lawful and unlawful consumption, and 100% unlawfully consumed. So I'm not quite sure how they've decided exactly, because
statistics, how do they work?
If you're watching a YouTube video, like you watch, say, what's it called? The Quest of the Game Child, Stuart Ashen's.
Yep.
It's legally available on YouTube but it also can be purchased. So if you're watching that, what do they call that? Like it's legal to watch digitally for free, but you can also purchase a DVD of it. So I'm not quite sure how, and it's not the only one, it's the first one that came to mind, but I'm not quite sure how they're breaking this chart up. But basically, mind you, this was a massive survey this year. They quizzed nearly 2,500 people.
Wow.
So statistically across Australia, it must be correct.
Yep.
So,
Small
but yeah,
sample
basically
is 100% indicative of the rest of the country.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, they found 50% of consumers said they would give up if faced with a blocked site because they've never heard of a VPN. 34% would seek alternative lawful access, and 7% would try to bypass the blocked site. They have heard of a VPN. Of those who encountered the blocked site, 46% that gave up, 19% sought alternative free lawful access, and 15% sought alternative free unlawful access. Fewer than 1% says they were able to bypass the website block. Wow. Fewer than 1% of our population know what a VPN is.
There you go.
Oh, there we go.
It doesn't want you to know.
Less than 1%. It actually says two paragraphs further down. Less than 1% managed to bypass the block website, and to achieve this, participants used the VPN or a proxy website.
Getflix.
Although apparently 15% of those 1% used Google Translate. So there must be some backdoor in Google Translate that I'm unfamiliar with.
Why don't you Google it?
Yeah. Google Translate defeat copyright. So website blocking had been legislated under the Copyright Amendment Online Infringement Act back in mid-2015, allows rights holders to obtain a court order to block a website hosted overseas that are deemed to exist for the primary purpose of infringing or facilitating infringement of copyright under Section 115A, which, by the way, is a completely illegal legislation that passed. But anyway.
Of course it did.
Yeah.
It's for a business that has a lot of lobbying money. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's right. So basically, over the 3 years since that's been 3 years, how many people? What did they say they've got? $15 million. I read, so I can't find it in this article. It must have been different. I think it's $15 or $17 million they've spent in 3 years, and they've successfully blocked 150 domains.
Whoa, that's like half the internet, dude.
That's like $1 million per domain. It's cost them to block. Like, seriously.
Isn't that somebody just edits a text file and hits go?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And that's internationally. Domestically, they've managed to get local service providers to block 16 websites. I think 5 of those were the Australian government at one point.
Yep.
Wasn't there a big thing where they cocked up and they blocked like the government, couple of the government websites or Centrelink's website or something because it was on the same host?
They also blocked shared servers.
Yeah.
So one person had a .mov on there. They blocked the IP address, and suddenly all these businesses were losing customers and money because no one could get to their website.
Yeah. Because that's right. Because they just blocked the IP address of that server.
Yeah. Good one.
Instead of that one website.
That's how the internet works.
Oh, and just in case you thought you could go on, have a review posted on a website to say block it. No. Under the ruling, rights holders are able to pay a $50 fee per domain that they want to block. So you can't just suspect a website of being illegal and saying, hey, you should block that. No. You've got to pay them money so that their $1 million can go and investigate it.
It's going to cost me $50 to have AussieTechHeads.com.au blocked. It might be worth it for the lulz. Only kidding, Glenn. It's okay.
But
anybody want to make a donation to that?
But what I find ironic is it's $50 to block a website and it's about $3 to buy a VPN to unblock it.
Yep.
So yeah, good luck with that, guys.
Excellent.
Just tell me how that's going.
I got one story to finish up for me. Have you got any more?
I have one semi-story.
Cool. Last month, the BBC headed to court to track down a person who leaked an incomplete scene featuring Jodie Whittaker's 13th Doctor. New court documents suggest the British broadcaster has yet to find the perpetrator and is hoping Microsoft can help. At a federal court in Washington, the BBC requested a DMCA subpoena targeted at a OneDrive user who shared the infringing material online late June. Torrent Freak reports, in an effort to track down the source of the leak, the BBC has taken the matter to US courts. Last month, it obtained a DMCA subpoena from a California federal court, ordering the forum tool Tapatalk to identify the source of an infringing post. Whether this resulted in any useful information is unknown, but a few days ago it became clear the BBC is still investigating the matter. In a separate effort, BBC Studios have filed a request for a DMCA subpoena at a federal court in Washington. This time it's directed at Microsoft. According to the BBC, a user of Microsoft's OneDrive stored and shared a copy of the leaked file titled img_i536.trim.mov. The infringing material includes, without limitation, an unauthorized copy of copyrighted video content from Season 11, Episode 1 of Doctor Who, for which BBC Worldwide Limited, trading as BBC Studios, is exclusive licensee. According to the BBC, the footage in question was stolen from the studio. Through the subpoena, the company hopes to find out more about the source of this leak and prevent similar situations going forward. It asked Microsoft to hand over any relevant information that can be helped to identify the account holder who uploaded the video, which was added to OneDrive back in June. This includes any name, account name, address, telephone number, email address, birth date, profile photo, device information, browser information, location information, information from others like Facebook or Google+, and the time posted. And his mother's maiden name, and his father-in-law's middle name, and his great-grandfather, the guy who lives next door.
Let me make this clear. No, because basically the person who is smart enough to obtain that footage, which, by the way, is done in-house in your own editing suites because they're the people who get to see it, who would have uploaded it through a VPN with an anonymous account, and anybody can create a Hotmail account to have a OneDrive account. So good luck with that.
But we know the IP address. It said Netherlands.
Yeah, we don't have a studio in the Netherlands, so it can't be one of our guys. Like, seriously, if you have footage that has only been seen by 4 people and 2 of them work in a studio editing suite, guess who it probably is?
We outsource everything these days.
Oh, it's ridiculous. Because that's a good waste of, because, they clearly have so much money to be throwing around that's a good investment for it.
Yep.
Wouldn't you just one-up them and go, here's a preview of the first episode and include those scenes plus other ones, and then that footage becomes irrelevant?
Like, everything's about the suing these days, son.
But what are you suing? For what? You're going to get some guy, a 15-year-old in his mum's basement who doesn't have any money anyway. What are they going to do?
It's the point of...
It's just so frustrating. Like, seriously. Yeah. These bureaucrats and do-gooders need to go back to whatever cave they crawled out of under. Sick of it. Speaking of...
caves.
Speaking of being sick of it, Windows 10 gets a new in-private desktop feature. Now, I don't have any systems with Windows 10. I have a laptop that runs sometimes.
It tries to, doesn't it?
But I basically don't have anything that runs Windows 10 successfully. But Microsoft is working on what they call a throwaway sandbox for one-time execution of untrusted software. So it's going to be called in private desktop. It acts like a throwaway sandbox. So you basically get an email. There is the odd spam email that looks remotely legitimate, but you're not quite sure. Well, that's okay because you just open it. But when you open it, you don't open it regularly. You open it in the sandbox. It opens it up there. It does the virus scan, does everything it's got to do. If the file's legit, you can then copy it across to your system. If it's not legit, you just close the sandbox and the problem goes away. So it's a really good idea.
It wouldn't be able to install any keyloggers or turn on your webcam or capture your data that you're typing into your bank account.
And every time you throw a thumb drive in or whatever, you can open it up in the sandbox.
We're keeping you up. It's a bit past your bedtime.
Been a long day.
No, that's Glenn.
Yeah. But yeah, another feature they're looking at adding is called, it's Windows 10 Enterprise for Remote Sessions. But basically, it's a multi-session remote access. So if you've got one system setting there, you can have several people all logging into a remote session on that system at the same time.
Yep.
Goes back to the good old days when you used to be able to do that with LogMe. Was it Log? No. What was that Norton one? Pre-Log Me In. You used to be able to have it sitting on your server at work, and basically anybody could log into it from home and access their own section on that server. They all had allocated memory and allocated processor that they could use whilst on the server.
Yep.
We used to use it at work. I can't think what it's called. Back in like 2000, 2001, somewhere around there. But so basically they're bringing that. That's called Windows 10 Enterprise Remote. So it'll be interesting to see the testing. They found it during the testing of Windows 10 Redstone. Is the latest.
People might not need Citrix anymore.
No, well, I think if you've got a small business with half a dozen employees who need to occasionally jump on, access emails or access remote files, certainly not a bad idea. I mean, it would be good because especially if you've got something, say, a real estate company or an online sales company where there's basically never anybody in the office, they're always on the road.
Yeah.
You don't need to set up one server and everybody can log into that instead of having everybody have their own desktop. It even means that if they did bring their laptop in, they still wanted to jump on the server, they can still do that. So that's actually not a half bad idea. It is surprising that Microsoft's doing it, which is probably the most surprising part about the whole thing. But it reminds me, there used to be a program called Sandboxy. Back in the day. I don't know if it's still around, actually. I haven't looked. But Sandboxy was the same sort of thing. It was literally a little app that you could run if you wanted to get, as I said, zip files or strange files you weren't quite sure about them. You could load them up in Zipboxy and it would run it in a standalone single application sandbox.
Yep, sandboxy.com. Spelled BOXIE.
Yep.
Sandboxy now supports Windows 10. Click here to download it.
So that's interesting. So the question is, will people use Sandboxy still, or will they use the integrated Windows 10 one?
Depends on if they got a server or a normal Windows computer that they want to connect to. Sandboxy just runs on like a professional Windows, wouldn't it? We wouldn't have to get Enterprise or anything.
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, that's probably the difference. Yeah, that'd be right. It's for Enterprise. Yeah, that makes sense. So when you crack your copy of Windows and you forget to click the Enterprise button, you can use Sandboxy instead.
Because who doesn't want to log on to a domain at home?
Well, yeah, that's interesting. I mean, given that we know they're all exactly the same version of Windows, just it unlocks different levels of stuff depending on which one you do.
Yeah, I think you can play like Candy Crush, and you can unlock the newer levels the longer you play Candy Crush. It comes built into Windows 10.
But I'm wondering if Enterprise, because even Windows 7
Candy Crush Soda Saga is in my Windows. Comes with
because there was in Windows 7 there was beginner, basic, home and pro or something, or home, basic and pro or something. It was like an ultimate. There was 4 different levels in there, but with I guess Enterprise being thrown in, aim more at the corporate and the server side of it. Is there anything in there that's really worth the extra effort of installing Enterprise that you can't get? Obviously, Sandbox is one thing you can get. So
yeah, I guess if you're getting Enterprise anyway for the Enterprise features, then this is another cool thing to have. If not, use Sandboxy.
I guess being integrated is probably one less thing you need to set up, I suppose.
Yeah.
That was the worst part.
And you can trust it because it's from Microsoft, so it's going to be bulletproof.
Oh yeah, no back doors, no hidden features. Be perfectly reliable and stable. There'll be nothing wrong with that. So
it just works.
But remember back in the day of Windows NT4 and even early Server 2000, you'd install it and there's a desktop.
Yep.
I'm like, okay. I now need to make this into a server.
Yeah.
It didn't come as a server. It came as a desktop that you had to turn into a server. It's like you spend the next week installing all these applications.
Yeah.
And making them all work and sharing stuff.
Which is better than the original ones where they just installed everything. So you had a vulnerable web server running when you didn't even use it for web. You had a vulnerable FTP server and vulnerable name server and...
well, back in, NT4 was even worse than that because if you wanted multi-user capabilities, you had to install, I can't think of what was it? Wow, there was actually a DOS program you had to install to enable multi-network cards and...
Oh, yeah.
What was it? Something, I can't think what it's called now.
OS2.
Yeah, that's it. No, OS2 Warp.
Yeah. So fast.
Well, actually, it was actually quick. It was useless, but it was quick.
Yeah. It was the future for a while. Then Microsoft said, "Hey, that's a good idea. Let's do that."
OS2 missed the boat by about 12 months, I reckon.
They could have been the default.
They had been 12 months earlier in what they were doing. They would have been there. The biggest problem I think I ever saw with OS2, I was doing work experience in Sydney at the time in year 10, which was about 95, I think.
A couple of years ago.
Right. And I was actually at the IBM factory in Sydney.
Yep.
Or the IBM data center. And they were actually making copies of OS2 Warp back in those days. And they had a room, probably the size of my house, literally full of SCSI 8-bay towers with single-speed cartridge burners in every tower, all the way around.
Going flat out.
And you would put one copy in the top one, the original, and then the other 7 would just mirror that one.
Right.
And they had this room full of all these, making all these masters of OS2 Warp.
You remember when people used to pirate software using those towers?
No.
Who pirates onto a CD or DVD anymore anyway?
I don't even own removables. Well, that's not true. I've got thumb drives. Other than thumb drives, I don't own removable storage. I was actually looking for a CD the other day because I wanted to make a thing for Bub just to, make shiny stuff and whatever. And I'm like, a couple of CDs will do.
I know. Where do you get them?
I don't even. I went to the $2 shop. Nah, they don't even have. When the $2 shop doesn't have it anymore,
it's gone.
It's gone. Because
Steve Jobs was right.
Up until a couple of years ago, you can still buy floppy disks at the $2 shop. you can't even get CDs there now.
It's very sad.
And actually, it is.
Gone.
I needed a floppy disk a couple of months ago. I flashed a BIOS unsuccessfully and bricked the computer.
Yep.
And the only thing it recognizes, it by default looks for the image on a floppy drive.
Yep.
So I thankfully had a USB floppy drive, which the system deems a standard floppy drive, which was great. I was happy about that. But I didn't have a disk. I spent a week trying to find one floppy disk. I ended up ringing a mate of mine who has an Amiga 500 and said, "Hey, have you got a blank disk or a disk that I can use on that?" And he goes, "Oh, dude, my stuff's like 25 years old." I said, "No, they'll be fine. They're Amiga disks."
Yeah.
And sure enough, he sent me an old Amiga Workbench disc that he had 1 million copies of.
Yeah.
And I put it into the laptop with the USB floppy drive, booted it up. Obviously, it didn't recognize it, but reformatted it. And this 25-year-old, 30-year-old floppy disk took the data perfectly and worked perfectly fine.
Saved your life.
By an Amiga floppy.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, dear.
Anyway, thanks for listening to the Aussie Tech Head Show, broadcast weekly. We can be found at facebook.com/Aussie Tech Heads, twitter.com/Aussie Tech Heads, and youtube.com/Aussie Tech Heads. There's the daily newspaper that Glenn puts on Twitter. You can email us, Glenn at aussietechheads.com.au, and Will and Warlock at aussietechheads.com.au. You can hear Aussie Tech Heads on aussietechradio.com 24/7, back-to-back play of some of the best related shows. Tech-related shows from around Australia and New Zealand, and new shows are added each Friday. And thanks for listening, and Glenn and the Double J's will be back next time. See you then.
Almost as good as Triple J. See ya.